Hi, this is Sora, and welcome to my guide to healing Rhyolith on 10-man normal. This fight is all about control. Ultimately, the degree of healing intensity that it will entail depends on how well your raid communicates and executes the strategy. For this particular attempt, I healed as Discipline with a Resto Shaman and a Resto Druid. Assignments were pretty much free-for-all, with healers working together to tend to the raid and tank. This encounter consists of two phases. Phase 1 lasts until Rhyolith reaches 25% health and requires the raid to move Rhyolith around the room, walking over active volcanoes to break down his armor. Once he reaches 25% health, Phase 2 begins, which is basically a nuke phase. It lasts about 30 seconds. During the first phase, raid damage patterns are largely predictable and can easily be healed through provided your raid is able to steer Rhyolith properly. Raid damage will be higher when your raid is learning the mechanics and are figuring out how to move Rhyolith while not standing in bad. There is a lot of fire damage in this fight, so some form of fire resistance may be helpful, such as a resistance aura or elemental resistance totem. As a Discipline priest, I switched back and forth between healing the raid and the spark tank. When I am focusing on the raid, I will pre-bubble one group to prepare for stomp and then POH the second group as it is about to land. Power Word Shield does an excellent job of negating damage from stomp. Stomp has been nerfed recently as well, as it no longer has a knockback effect, making it easier to mop up the mess afterwards. My disc spec is outfitted with Atonement, so when I'm not tending to the raid, I can Holy Fire and smite the spark of Rhyolith. Since I use Power Word Shield heavily in this fight, I switch my armor buff to Inner Will for the decreased cost of my instant cast spells. Pretty much anything that looks like fire is going to be bad to stand in. The AoE immolation from the spark of Rhyolith hurts, but only for a few seconds. If your raid is having trouble staying out of the bad in this fight, I recommend the add-on GTFO. I actually use it and I love it. As a healer, it's easy to tunnel vision on your raid frames, so an audible cue when you're standing in bad can be very helpful. Too bad it doesn't warn you before you do something dumb. The fragments of Rhyolith do a little bit of damage when they initially erupt from the ground. Usually they aren't much of a problem since their damage is so low and your tank will be picking them up right away. The streams of lava from craters are avoidable damage that your raid will have to watch out for. The damage from magma flow is moderate at about 75k at first, and then erupting into 150k damage, though it can be dangerous with high stacks of eruption. Eruption is a debuff placed on the raid that will stack until the volcanoes are dealt with. Eruption will most likely be the most fatal mechanic when your raid is first learning this boss. Eventually you just won't be able to heal through the increased fire damage. Tank healers should be aware of the buff that the sparks stack on themselves over time that buff their damage done, called Infernal Rage. However, this buff also increases the damage that the sparks take, which should make burning them down fairly easy. It's also a handy buff for an Atonement priest. There will be periods of the fight when you're in between raid damage phases that are perfect for using a mana cooldown, like Hymn of Hope or a concentration pot. At about 5 minutes into the fight, or 25% health, Rhyolith will become superheated, and if you have lasted this long, don't worry, this phase is a short one. Rhyolith basically stands in one place hitting the tank while spamming Immolate on the raid. At this point, everyone will be in a burn mode, and this is where you'll want to use your raid cooldowns like Divine Hymn, Barrier, Tranquility, Aura Mastery, Divine Guardian, and Spirit Link Totem. After this kill, which was a few weeks ago, the other healers and I felt like this could easily be 2-healed, especially since this is a fight that we have on farm status. If you're just starting out, however, I would stick with 3 healers until the rest of the raid gets used to the mechanics of the fight. That wraps up my healing guide for 10-man Rhyolith. If you have any healing tips for this fight, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and good luck on the fight.